He said, what? Shut the front door. Ooh, Alex said a bad word. I'm gonna tell it on you. I'm gonna get your job. I got your job. I got your job. Oh yeah. This scenario is probably not what you want to be having at the end of your workday. You've been working hard and you just said something out loud and somebody misheard you, and then there's somebody telling your boss, and miscommunication in the workplace. I hate it. Well, with the use of emotional intelligence, we can get around some of these things and these roadblocks and potholes that happen when we are trying to say one thing and someone misinterprets what we say, and then all the chaos starts to happen. Stay tuned to this video and we're going to let you in on some secrets. Miscommunication starts with me. If I am not in touch with who I am and how I communicate and how I see and perceive the world, I'm going to miss out and miscommunicate myself, and heaven forbid the people out there. So let's watch this next little part of the video and figure out some self-awareness tips that are going to keep you out of trouble. Outgoing folks and reserved folks. So when I talk about this outgoing personality style, these folks are fast-paced, involved, energetic, optimistic, positive, enthusiastic. Woo! Take the leg by the tail, just sling it around and throw it somewhere. When conflict comes along, however, though, they focus on talking things out. Hey, Alicia, how are you? Hey, can I help you? Can I help you? Hey, you good? You good? You good? You good? You good? And she wants to slap my hand away. And so if she's more a reserved person, she's going to be a little bit slower paced. Now, that doesn't mean she works slowly. That means just she's slow to act or get engaged because she wants to think things through before she speaks. So they're cautious folks, they're concerned, they're reluctant, critical thinkers, and always discerning. And when conflict comes along for them, they focus on thinking things through. Should I? Nope. But don't have all the facts yet. And that's their mentality. All right, so where are you on that scale of outgoing versus reserved? If you're outgoing, kind of remember that I'm towards the top of the screen. If you're reserved, you're more towards the bottom of the screen. We're going to divide you into people person, or if you're more of a task-oriented person. People-oriented folks are all about caring and sharing and relationships and emotions and feelings and friendships. They focus on the opinions of others and how they feel. So we tend to be pretty emotional, and I am very much a people-oriented person. I'm an emotional guy. You know, I cried during the movie Frozen. Nobody does that, but I did because my daughter was there, and she's gonna have a boyfriend one day and get married. And she said, "Pull it together, Dad." Anyway, because she's more of a task-oriented person. She's all about procedure and function and forms and programs and processes and analytics. She focuses on getting things done at the end of the day. So that's all great. Lots of good information there. D's, I's, S's, and C's. And so when you're in the workplace, you got to determine, well, am I talking to a D or an I or an S or C so I can avoid any of this crazy miscommunication? What percentage of the population are each style? Take a look at this next clip. So what percentage of the population does each style represent? Well, if you look, we'll have our D's at 10%. 10% of the population, the smallest percentage. And it's usually this time during the video where I stop and take a little moment to say a little prayer and thank God that there's only 10% of the population that are IDs, because they are seriously on fire about execution and getting things done. Then we look at our I's. Our I's are 25 to 30% of the population. The fun people, the people that bring the creativity and the spontaneity into the world. Then our biggest percentage belongs to our high S's. S's at 30 to 35% of the population. Those folks who love harmony, the peacemakers. We love our high S's. Now, if you would, take a moment to imagine a world where we switch the D and the S. If D's were 30% of the population and those S's were only 10%, what kind of world would that be? We'd be on like World War XVII by now, because there's just too many people trying to be in charge. So there's a balance there. So 10% on those D's, and thank God, 30 to 35% on those S's. And then our C's, those analytical folks, 20 to 25% of the population. So your accountants, your lawyers, rocket science, engineers, all those people live in that C world. Thankfully, we have a lot of those folks because they bring order to the chaos of some of those other styles. So now for our miscommunication tips. Tip number one, understand yourself. especially in the work environment? Are you the kind of person that thrives by being around others, getting energy from everybody else, either by telling stories or telling jokes or just by being a good listener? Or are you the person that's going to be kind of isolated? You want to be working. I mean, that's why you're at a job, right? To get things done. And so if you're that kind of person, you're probably living on that task side of the world. So if you're an I or an S, working remotely, while maybe rewarding for other styles, is going to be horrible for you because you like being around other people. And so your boss says, hey, you get to work from home on Friday. You're like, do I have to? Please don't make me work from home. I won't see Johnny. And so that emotion that we feel is because we want to be around others. Versus if you said to a C, you get to work from home on Friday, they're like, woo! And they're out. I mean, they've left, they've gone, they're trucking it. They are so ready to be working by themselves, get up in their pajamas, work from home with their slippers on. Nobody asking them questions. Nobody talking to them about totally irrelevant TV shows. They don't care about that crap. They're there to work. So understanding yourself means understanding where do I best thrive from a work environment. All depends on your style. So if you're an I and you have to interact with a lot of high Cs and you're in that cubicle environment, that's going to be tough for you because they're going to isolate themselves just by the physical boundaries of their cubicle. And you stick your head over there and you say, hey, Linda, how's your day? Or, hey, Linda, where do you want to go for lunch? Or, hey, Linda, and she's going to say, stop talking to me, I'm trying to work. For you, that's going to be challenging and frustrating. That's called emotional adaptation. When you have to be quiet when you don't want to be quiet, or when you have to talk and you don't want to talk. For example, a high C who has to deal with a lot of customer service stuff, they have to get on the phone and talk to people. Oh, brutal, they can't stand it. So that's what we call emotional adaptation, doing behaviors or doing things outside of where you normally feel most comfortable. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at my graph, and I'm going to show you what we have from a perspective of highs and lows and where we have to adapt emotionally and where we gain and lose energy in a role. When you take an assessment, you'll have two different styles. You'll have an environmental style and a basic style. We're going to talk about the basic style today. On the screen right now, you see my personal basic style graph. And you see my D is a 38, my I is 100, my S is a 92, my C is a lowly little 12. And so what does that mean? Well, if you look at that midline there, that little gray line that goes right across the screen, that's going to be right at the 50 percentile. So any bar that's above the 50% is a predominant trait for you. So in my instance, my I is 100, so I'm an I, but my S is also a 92. It's above that midline. So I'm an I-S blend. The order is determined by whichever the higher number is. Now you can be a blend of 3, you can be just a single, you can be a blend of all 4. Someone who's got all 4 around the 50 percentile is what we call level. So in my particular example, I am an I-S. Behaviors that I would do that are around an I-S come easy for me. So for example, speaking to large groups of people. As 100 on the I scale, man, I can do that twice a day, all day long. Let's do it on Sundays, whenever. I get a lot of energy and enjoyment from that. My S is a 92, so I get a ton of emotional energy from helping other people. So that's why I love to work summer camps and influence young people. That's why I like to help other people in the workplace and doing these videos for you guys free of charge to help you be better than you were before you met me. But then you've got my lowly little C of a 12. And so when I have to go back and organize these videos and talk to my YouTube team about those kind of things, man, that's a struggle for me because it takes a lot of emotional energy for me to climb that ladder to get from that 12 above the midline. So I'm able to do those things from a C perspective with a certain degree of proficiency. Now, can I do them? Yes, I can certainly do them. As a CEO of a billing company, I also have to do this every month. And the worst time of the month for me as a CEO is the end of the month. Why? Because that's when reports are due. And gosh, I have to take a look at pro formas and P&Ls and projections, and I can't stand that stuff. And so I have to really adapt my behavior to get inside of myself in terms of what do these numbers mean and what does this mean for our company? So it requires a lot of energy. I can look at a spreadsheet for 15 minutes and feel like I've been digging ditches for 8 hours straight. It just takes so much energy from me. So when we're talking about this basic graph roll, anything that's above the midline, also called an energy line, you gain energy from. Anything below that midline, you're going to be losing energy. Tip number 2, know the personality style of your boss. Because if your boss is a high D versus a high S, the way you approach them with problems and questions and issues and opportunities is going to be totally different. So if you go back and think, we did outgoing versus reserve, we did people versus task. Try to figure out where your boss fits in that situation, because if you come in talking like yourself as opposed to adapting your style and talking like they want to be heard or received, then you're going to miss the boat. So what communication style does each particular style have? D, I, S versus C. Let's take a look at this next clip and find out. D's are direct. They're going to shoot straight. So you shoot straight back at them. They come up in your face, you get up in their face. They walk a little closer, you walk a little closer to them. It doesn't matter, because if you don't and you back off, that's going to be a sign of a weakness to them. So show strength to those D's. I's are about influencing others. They want to see your passion, your enthusiasm. If you come in there like a cold, dead fish, you're not going to get that promotion. You're not going to be leading that project, because they want you to feel the same passion that they have. So go for it. S's are great listeners, and they're always concerned about the welfare of others. So anytime you're talking about a project or anything like that, it's always about what's going to impact for the team. How's that going to impact the team? How are people going to be involved? Do we have to hire people, fire people? If you do that, you're going to get to the conscience and the heart of a person, and that's what those S's love. C's, God bless you. I love you guys. You are those analytical folks. And so when you have those analytical people that you're talking to, keep it to the facts. Just the facts, ma'am, as they said back in the Dragnet days. Don't come in there with all the bells and whistles and how product 2.5 is going to be better than product 2.0. It's going to be great. No, none of that. Okay, keep it straight. Hand them the facts. Let them think about things before you ask them what they feel or what the next steps should be. If you do that, you'll thank me later. So tip number 1, understand yourself. Tip number 2, understand others, specifically your boss. And then step number 3, be willing to adapt your behavior to meet others where they are. Almost like with the Democrats and the Republicans, I'm not going political, we have to reach across the aisle sometimes to communicate with other people. So I can't just speak this whole conservative language. Sometimes I've got to speak on a little more progressive side. And the Democrats have to swing across the line and go a little more conservative. Same thing applies for us in the work environment. We have to be able to adapt our communication to meet others where they are. From a D perspective, soften the message. Okay, your S's can't take that. S's, you got to step up your message. Make those soft edges a little more firm. Be firm in what you have to say. I's, bring those facts. It's not always about fun. C's, you got to loosen up a little bit. Okay, have a little bit more fun. It's okay to be playful at work, because remember, people execute your processes. So people ask me all the time, they say, Alex, what's the best style for a CEO? What's the best style for a salesperson? What's the best style for customer service? Well, there is no best style. There is no right or wrong style. We all work in an environment. Some of us are predisposed to be better at some things because those particular behaviors come easier to us, but we have to learn to adapt. So an I working with a C, you guys have to meet in the middle a little bit, and then D's and S's, you guys have to come and meet in the middle too. And again, it comes from that self-awareness. If we just say, no, I'm not doing it because it's going to be done this way, and I've always done it this way, and this is the way this company's grown, $15 billion company. Well, that's fine, okay? But this isn't the 1980s and where everybody just kind of puts their head down and does their thing. We have to interact with one another. We are a connected world right now. I can get on the phone and talk to somebody in China in 2 seconds, whether that wasn't possible 30 years ago. So we have to adapt ourselves not only to personality styles, but to cultures, to different races, different ethnicities. We're adapting all the time. And if we refuse to do that, we're going to lose out on all those important relationships that are in our lives. So let's go back in the time machine, back to step 1, and knowing ourselves first, that self-awareness. How do we get that self-awareness? You take a personality assessment. That's right, I'm being high D on you. I'm telling you, go take that assessment right now. It's down in the link in the description. Take the assessment. You'll thank me later, and I'll have a much softer message. But for right now, I'm all up in your face with a D. Go down the description. Hit a comment below. Do something about it. Go take that assessment right now. You'll thank me later. See you on the next video. You will do the next video.